Hello, welcome everyone. I am Briar Harvey. This is the Neurodiversity Media Network. And y'all, I'm so sad. It's our very last episode with the fabulous Veronica Yanhs. So, if you haven't watched any of this series yet, we've been talking about how operations makes things better. And what we want to talk about today are very specific examples of how Veronica has fixed people's shit so that you can potentially apply that to your own business and go, that could work for me. That's that's what we're after here. That maybe could work for me because it's hard to imagine good ops if you've never had them before.
Yeah, no, and before we get started, it's not just me, it's my
No.
team. My team is incredible. Most of the time, I'm not involved in client work unless we're dividing up things because someone's going on vacation and we're triple dog daring them not to bring their laptop because they've never done it before. And the fact that our team member Terry was able to go on a cruise without feeling like she had to jump on their Wi-Fi or bring her laptop, I think is a big win for us in terms of even a case study for Business Laid Bare that, hey, you can create better quality of life when you plan, when you have good operations, and when everything centers around the people that get to experience what your processes and operations mean. So I thought today would be a really fun episode to kind of just wrap everything up and talk about all the things that we've done and what it's done for our clients and the results that they've been able to experience so that you have a holistic picture, because every episode previous was kind of one section of the orgasmic operations method. And to remind you, the orgasmic operations method is people, profit, and presence. People meaning internal ops, profit is revenue ops, and presence is marketing ops. And when you have all three of those things working together, I mean, it's orgasmic. Everything is smooth. Everything is running well. It's you don't have to wonder if you can go on vacation and if your business is going to implode, or if you're going to come back with anxiety because you're I don't know what the heck I am going to be stepping into. So, yeah, it's just going to be a big celebration because operations sometimes can be so mystical, and our job here is to demystify it. I think we've done such a great job. So when people actually get excited for their operations, that's already a big step. That's the minimum viable experience, right? If you get excited about your operations, it means that there's so much more that we can do. There's a lot of folks, and Briar, you can speak to this as well, that they can come in and they're absolutely terrified because they don't know what they don't know, or they're just it's just something that I know I need, and that's it. They don't have true buy-in, right? It's just something to check off the box. But when people actually care, it's magic happens.
And we want you to care about your back end. That's all.
Because we don't want it to be leaky either, especially
Ooh.
leaking money out of your back end, which is such a subtle, sometimes it's hemorrhaging, but good operations means that everything is plugged up, sealed tight. And your
Ooh.
bookkeepers and accountants are going to love you for it, and your stakeholders as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's get into the overall theme. What I've noticed in the last 4 years that we've been doing this, I've been doing this for a lot longer than that, but even just in the last 4 years when I got really intentional about who Business Laid Bare is, what we stand for, what our brand promise is, which is people first, pleasure filled, and profit generating processes. Oh, the alliteration nerd in me is just singing when I say that. It means that we're actually able to create an impact. We're here to work with organizations, both for profit and nonprofits, for using your organization as a force for good, especially in this world of capitalism. It's you're playing that game. So overall, the biggest theme that we've had our clients walk away with is one, relief that there is a solution to doing everything that they want, and that things don't have to hurt internally. Like when you don't know where to go grab notes, or when you don't know how to do something, like that insecurity doesn't help anybody. So I think the main themes that I've been able to see when our clients give us testimonials or when they give us feedback is relief, excitement, and like opportunities, like what's possible. Like they're like, oh, I can actually see what operations can do for my business. So one of my favorite examples to give is we worked with an organization. Actually, they hired us before the organization really even began, because they're like, you know what, as much as I dislike McDonald's personally, our client was like, Candace was like, I want our operations to be so good because we are here to heal racial trauma. So I want all the locations in the South to be able to pop up as fast and efficient and easy as possible so that we can make more impact, but also know that every location we open, everything has been checked off and handled, and we know it's going to run like a well-oiled machine. And so they were able to, within the first quarter, like increase their revenue without really even trying by 15% quarter over quarter, because she's like, oh, I have one location, and if this location works really, really well, hypothetically, because we've already been doing the marketing and everything, it's going to work, and it's not going to be like more money, more problems. And so those are like when she was able to step away and really give the reins of her business in multiple locations to her team members. She's like, I'm not living and operating as if my nose is just barely above water that could sink anytime. She's like, I could go on a vacation, I could be sick, I can step away, I can go do a huge corporate workshop so that we can get a ton of money, get paid, so that we can subsidize some sort of racial therapy for folks that cannot afford us on the sliding scale, even, to make a difference. And so we were able to create all these different systems that mattered, both revenue wise, like the workshops, the therapy stuff, to even bringing on new team members. Like the last thing you want to do when you hire someone is to feel like you're a glorified babysitter, right, Briar? So it's like you hire somebody or somebodies to go into your business so that you can delegate and offload something. But if you don't do it right, or you don't have the right systems and processes, it absolutely feels like you're doing more work because you're following up behind them, you don't trust them, and you end up adding actually like 2 to 3 times more things back on your plate than you had before you even hired the person or team
Every
members.
time.
Is that what you've seen too?
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't know what the job description and roles and responsibilities of a new hire are going to be before you've hired them, it is unlikely that they will be able to fulfill those roles and responsibilities. Just,
Which, yeah, which by the way, a lot of these, can I put them in the comments? Here, you can even like view
Yes.
them yourself. I'm going to drop them, or actually, it won't let me drop them, but I'll drop it in the private chat for you to share with your folks, Briar, because like
Yep.
this case study page allows different people to see, like, here are the different businesses that we've worked with. And speaking of onboarding and training, okay, so I'm going to call out Team Spiritual Essence Yoga, one of the case studies on our website. Like, they were able to not only decrease their onboarding and training time by 50%. Like, they were spending many, many hours doing onboarding, just have it really go nowhere. And their methodology requires you to have like a buddy system to begin with, because you're in the yoga studio and you're also doing virtual yoga. So there's a lot of moving parts. And so we were able to create like such robust systems and processes that allowed them to minimize their training time by 50%. And Dana said that the revenue was increasing 25% or 27% as a result, which allowed them to open a new location and like a new separate store. So it's like, she's like, oh, I know that when business is good, when operations is good, my team members have it handled. And she also consented for me to share the story. It was actually really personal, because these are things that we never really want to talk about without the consent of our clients. But she's like, and something that we didn't really talk about was that I was able to go take care of my dad when he wasn't doing well and not have to choose between my family and my business. I knew that my team, because of the operations your business laid bare put in, would be able to handle everything. And I was like, Holy crap. Like, that's really powerful. That's so personal. And it's just like, it just really speaks to good quality of life. So it's like, just going through these scenarios and bringing up these memories again makes me like so excited to like continue the work that we do, because people first and pleasure filled operations really matter, because you're not just a robot. You're not just a cog or a gear in somebody else's organization. It's like these organizations that we're working with really care about each individual team member and want them to succeed in the best way possible. So, what are all the systems and processes that they need to deal with that can be used to the best of their abilities with as much ease as possible?
Ease. That's it. That's all
Ease.
we're after here. That if you do not have this stuff dialed in, that is the thing that will be missing every single time.
What are some examples of ease that have showed up in your life as a result of good operations, Briar?
So, the biggest one for me is that I take the month of October entirely off. I don't market, I don't do client work, I don't do anything significant. It's a month of grief and loss for me, and I'm not interested in managing my business, mostly for a whole entire month.
Mm-hmm.
When I was freelancing, it was fine, right? I just not work, and I just have to build up income around that to make that sustainable. Even as a contractor, that's a thing that you can do. But once you're serving clients on a consistent basis, that's a whole nother thing entirely. And you need to have systems and strategies in place. So this year for the NMN, I've got some guest anchors. I've got people who have created podcasts. I'm not even going to have to be there. We will have someone else doing the back end things using the workflows that I've had built up for almost a year at that point in time. And it shouldn't be an issue at all.
Have you ever come across a scenario where operations allowed you to see the person for who they really were or weren't? Like, I'm noticing that with operations, like, people can't fake it, especially like new hires who might have bolstered their resume or something. Like, when you have good operations, it really allows you to see if this person knows how to not only follow processes that have been created, but also can be proactive about thinking about how to improve something.
Yeah, because there is an environment of curiosity. And I think you and I have talked about
Ooh.
curiosity a lot, but I can't explore the limits of my job description if I don't have a clear understanding of what that is. I can't be curious about what I'll fix or what I can make work better if I don't know the basics. And if the basics are there, and I can't do that, then potentially I'm not the right fit for that position, right? It goes both ways. But the ability to see how something fits together happens much more clearly when we've documented that process. It's just so amazing how that works.
So you're saying it's like creating a boundary, right? Instead of me just like
Hmm.
throwing you into the lake and saying good luck, it's like, okay, well, here's the room where this stuff is. Here's the gates that this room protects, because you can't go past it because that's possibly somebody else's room or department. And so if you have boundaries, you know what you can do and get creative and curious around that. I love that word, curiosity.
Well, and I think boundaries also imply, not necessarily guarantee, but imply safety. It is much easier for me to ask for things if I feel like there is actually a boundary around what is and is not mine.
Oh, that's such a good word, safety, because that ties in directly with another one of our clients. And we didn't rehearse this, by the way, at all. I'm just like, oh, I have to share the story. So, our client, Benevolence Farm, hey, Kristen and team, like they are in North Carolina in the US, and their entire mission is to help women that have been recently let go of the prison system get integrated back into society in the best way possible. And like I think the reoffense rate is like next to nothing because they've been able to create a sense of safety for their, they call them their residents. And it began with Kristen wanting to reach out because she's like, okay, these women are already experiencing so much chaos and trauma. The last thing we need to do is to give them and bring them more trauma due to our lack of being able to operate internally well. And I was like, holy shit, that is so powerful. Like, can you just market my business for me? We'll call it a day kind of thing. And so to be able to create that safety so that the residents knew what was expected of them, what the processes were, it allowed them to like just basically heal and to do whatever it is that they needed to do within Benevolence Farm so that they can follow the program, get their interviews, get housing, because at the end of the day, Benevolence Farm is a temporary housing system, and
Right.
so they wouldn't stay there permanently. And so it's like I love that the team members were able to create a sense of safety for themselves too, because in an event of a catastrophic accident, which happens a lot in places like these. It's like everybody knows what to do to protect themselves, to protect other people, to protect the residents. And I think safety is such a not talked about topic in terms of what operations create. So thank you for bringing that up. I didn't see it in that lens until you were just talking about it just now. So thank you.
There are so many things about operations that we don't think about in this way because truly, we don't do this well historically. I think most businesses, especially large corporations, do operations badly or subpar. Because if they did them better, people wouldn't constantly feel like they have no job security or that they have no ability to advocate for their needs.
And I think what's really beautiful about working at the level that we work with in terms of our clients. So, like, we do what we call corporation innovation, right? The larger organizations like that. But I think, like, for me, being really just honestly really selfish, like, I like to see results quickly and being able to work with smaller organizations. And I'm not talking like small, like 1 to 2. Like, we've worked with organizations under like 50 and under. Like we had this accounting firm that was trying to hit their next $1 million revenue mark and they weren't sure why they weren't able to do so. And so we were able to go in and work our magic there. But I'm just like being able to like turn a small boat or a jet ski, it seems so much easier in organizations like these that are willing to change. And we don't have to go through so much red tape or permissions asking. And it just feels like turning a barge. But it's like where these barges lie are also where the most gaps are, and you just don't see the result of the pains or the lack of operations because they have so many resources, aka money and people, that there's so much more grace. Like for small businesses, like I would like, even though it's not down to this, but like every dollar does matter because every dollar is either spent towards somebody's well-being, for community members, for overhead expenses. Like there's no time to like waste or no opportunity to be wasteful. And so I think these organizations, these corporate organizations, like even if they were hemorrhaging, like you were telling me, like one of the organizations or the businesses that we looked at, like HBO or something, was like operating at like a net, I don't know, millions of dollars. And I'm just like, how is that even possible?
Right.
Right. I mean, it's possible, but I'm just like, this is what my brain is going through.
That's so historically bad in Hollywood and film production. I do not even want to get started on how much money these companies run in the red for. On the other hand, so I had Joa earlier this week. We have a podcast called Fix Work. And one of the things that we talked about just this week was 95% of jobs come from small businesses. They do
That's so
not come from
fascinating.
big businesses. And if that's the case, then legislating change is almost impossible because so many of our own laws in this country, not necessarily everywhere, but in the United States where it's all fucked, legislation doesn't even apply to these companies. So what has to matter to them is internal morals, ethics, and standards. And that comes from operations.
Absolutely, because good operations creates company culture. And when you
Hmm.
do it right from the beginning, it and as you grow and scale and expand and all that great stuff, it's still the strength of that foundation maintains. Sure, you have to create systems that adopt to this change, or if you're changing how money gets made or revenue models and things like that. But ultimately, like the essence of who you are, which is like the operations, with a priority to that and teaching team members to be more process driven than just solutions driven, like speaks volumes. Like, especially, I love it when we're able to help companies promote from within. Like, instead
Hmm.
of hiring an external COO right off the bat, it's like, who can we help mentor to rise from like an admin level to now a confident director of operations. And that's actually what happened with one of our clients. Shout out to Love at First Search, Meg Casebolt and her
I love
team.
Meg.
Right, you're nodding. We all love you, Meg. And it's like being able to help Megan go from coming in an admin position and like teaching her how to think strategically and not just like reactively. She now knows how to create systems and processes and be able to support Meg in like her vision to be able to make the how happen. Because at the end of the day, your operations are just the how, right? The how that makes your vision, your goals, your what happen. So I think that by doing good operations, especially with organizations like these, we're changing the way that business is done. We're changing the way people are being taken care of. And we're also changing the way that operations is approached because historically it's always been an afterthought. I mean, it still is. It's still very much an afterthought, which is why our work is never ending. And I will shout how important operations are from the rooftops, except it has to be really effective. Otherwise, it's just a waste of my time. But it's just
Right.
like we need to be able to, if it's like the heart of your business, be able to address heart health right away and not just something like, oh, I'm suddenly 70 years old and like have type 2 diabetes or whatever the narrative may be, and try to undo decades of harm that I've done knowingly or unknowingly to my body. And so business is the same way.
And harm reduction, safety, all of these things, right? It's a practice. So when you build them in, there has to be margin for error. There has to be some flexibility around what makes the operating system flex for change.
And let's talk about yours. Like, what systems come to mind for your business that allow for this flex?
So, for me, primarily, it's not existent yet. I've been speaking with a guy. It's called an autonomous agent. I'm very excited about the potential for this thing.
I want to hear.
Autonomous agents are, it's like Zapier in Slack, and it works with all of your existing SaaS services. So you set up sequences and then you send it out in the world to do what it would do, just like an employee, except it's AI. So the thing about this is is that none of this would work if there wasn't the workflow. I can't train a robot, much less a human, to do anything if the workflow hadn't been created, laid out, and walked through by me first and multiple times. So the ability to have flexibility here comes from knowing that things that I do will not necessarily be the same as how other people do them or even other AI do them. And what do we do then, right? Does the workflow need to change? Do we power through it and find some solution around the difficulty? It's always something. But you have to be able to have that kind of flexibility around the process.
I love that, which I can't wait to look into this myself because I'm always like asking you like, "Oh, what are the fun things I should be looking into?" Because we're so like we're even though we need to know so much about like different apps and stuff, it's like, well, until the app actually presents itself in front of us, it's like we know what we love and we're leaning on frameworks. Like a project management app is a project management app with like different features. Everybody has different ways in which they present that information. So I'm always excited to hear about apps that my friends get excited over. So, one of the things that allows us to flex our system is I often ask myself this question, and we ask it to every single client, prospective sales call goer, workshop attendee. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, for a small business, what matters most is revenue.
Hmm.
We'll get to profit another time, but if you can't have profit without revenue. So, let's just start with the easiest one. And so we're always asking the question, what happens if your business was to go 50x tomorrow? Or if that number is just too scary for your brain, some 10x, 20x, some really, really big number. And if your face is like turning white, or you're just like, oh, well, if my business was to go 50x tomorrow, holy shit. It's like that means that the way that you're making money currently isn't able to be flexed on. That the way that you've designed your system will not meet the demands that you work so hard in your marketing, sales, visibility, PR efforts, or whatnot to get, right? All businesses want to grow. But then suddenly, when I ask the question, what happens if it does this like overnight? Because in this world of virality, or maybe we're going to land like the biggest clients ever, something's going to happen. And if your business can't handle it, when you have just worked so hard for nothing, because if people are like, I'm going to, no matter what happens, I'm going to bend over backwards to make it happen. But is that sustainable though? At what cost will this, cost your health? Like, where's the safety to this, right?
And what does it look like is absolutely the thing. If your business 50x's tomorrow, how do you make that momentum work in your favor if you don't have an answer for that, right?
So, yeah. And it actually happened for one of our clients. It wasn't exactly 50x. And I'm not going to disclose who it was because they're still working on the nitty gritty details and all that NDA stuff, but they 48x'd their business pretty much overnight because she was able to sign a contract despite her investors telling her to shut her business down. And like in the next few weeks, she was like, hey, I just closed this deal pretty much, or we're in the like deal signing contract phase, but pretty much it's going to be a 48x growth. And I was like, okay, how do you feel? And she's like, well, I'm scared as shit. Not because I don't have good operations. Like because we worked with them and she's like, everything's robust. We know what to do. She's like, I'm just scared as shit because now I have to like, elevate my CEO-ness. Like I'm playing at the next level. And I just have to make sure that I can handle and take my business to that next level. She's like, the operations are great because we were able to support her in different growths of how different revenue can come in. Like we worked on their sales process, we worked on their client management, project management, knowledge management, because institutional knowledge is really, really harmful and dangerous. And so when you're able to create various systems or may even make it easy for the team to communicate with each other, we were able to then tie that up into a nice little bow because everything connected. At least to us, operations aren't just like different like silos and campfires. They're like, it's like a pipe system if we were to use that visual. And so she 48x her business, and now they're just running. Like, holy crap. How crazy is that to actually have that happen? Like, if I was to 50x my business, I know that there are some things in our current model that would need to be tweaked, but overall, if 50x came, we could handle it. And
Mm-hmm.
I asked my team members, I was like, hey, Terry, Michaela, so just curious, if our business was to go 50x tomorrow, because we have to ask ourselves this question, if we're to be so bold and ask everyone else this question, how would you both feel? And they're like, okay, we know what to do.
And that's the right answer. It should not be panic. It should be, well, I know we'd need to hire XYZ and we'd need to be able to do these things. But if you have a plan and there's no urgency, and that's what's key, it's the
Yeah.
lack of urgency. If it happens tomorrow, it happens tomorrow, but we'll be prepared to ride that wave either way.
Yeah. And it was just like the most nonchalant answer ever. And I'm just like, how do we impart all of this to our other clients? Because it's not the reaction that I get in our sales calls, because we record our sales calls, take notes, and all that good stuff. So this really does happen. And I want businesses to succeed because the more money you make and hopefully the more profits you retain strategically, because I know there's a difference between net income and gross profits. So I've learned a lot from my bookkeepers and accountants. It's like you take that money and you can actually do good with it in the world rather than letting it just leak out and get wasted. And so make sure the way that you make revenue can handle a 50x or some whatever large Q number is. And then also, if you're growing that much, most likely you're going to want to hire. So having good training and onboarding systems really will make the difference so that you're not, like I said earlier, playing that glorified babysitting route.
Mhm. All right, my friend. If you want Veronica's eyes on your back end, the first thing you can do is purchase her assessment. And I love the assessment. It's absolutely incredible. It's built into Notion. It's exactly what she walks her own clients through. It's built so that you can see the pathway yourself, and then you can hire people where you need to help you implement the strategy.
And to be clear, you're talking about the DIY version, right?
Yes, I'm talking about
Okay.
the DIY version. If you want more hands-on help, that is, what's that one called?
Well, so so it's the assessment. Either that we do it
It's
for
just the
you.
assessment now. Yes.
Yeah, or we call it the operations audit. So you can either play with us or play with yourself. So,
But
but
yes.
what happens is that after so I'm of this proponent that just because an offer doesn't work the first time or the second time doesn't mean that it's a bad offer. It means that there's messaging that might need to be tweaked, most likely, or just different ways in serving it. So we have worked on this assessment, and there's been so many iterations of it because you can see our history of like 4.0, 5.0, or whatnot. And over the past 4 to 5 years of refining the assessment, we've made it into this really beautiful process that we do for our clients. And I'm just like, well, we also want to make this available to people that might not be able to afford us to do it for them at this point, but still like that you want to address your operations. And so it allows you to go through basically the exact process that we go through with our clients, and you're checking boxes. Like, we're making it as easy as possible so that we're asking you like yes, no questions. Like, do you have a knowledge management system where you can store SOPs, email templates, documentation? And it's a simple yes, no, because if it's a yes, you get to check the box. And that check allows you to increase the bar percentage. And so there's after all said and done, even the sales page says like there's 11 plus sections that we ask you. There's actually like closer to 17 because that's just who I am. And it works for different business models, whether you're a SaaS business, whether you are selling digital products, whether you're services, whether you're e-com, like, or whether you have like a membership slash group coaching offer, it's all there. And so basically my goal here is for you to check boxes so that you know what you're missing, know what you need, and then it basically lays it out into a nice roadmap that allows you to say, okay, I need to focus on my team onboarding, or I need to focus on my client onboarding because it's like 0%. Or, ooh, I don't have really bad retention systems or offboarding systems. Let's fix that, because then retention, it's easier to keep the clients you have. What did my client say? It's cheaper to keep her
Cheaper
than
to
it is
keep her, baby.
to get new clients. So yeah, this is our DIY assessment.
I have dropped my affiliate link in the comments. Y'all, I want you to work with Veronica if you struggle with your operations. It's everything that we do here at the Neurodiversity Media Network is built around a strong framework. It's built around the idea that we have enough time. That's all been done so incredibly deliberately. And we did that with our operations. If your business does not support your lifestyle, then you're not doing it right. It's just that simple. And I want you to have something that you love to do that brings you joy, that also fits in your life and is not your entire life.
And we really shortcut the process for you, because it's like our clients often are saying we don't know what we don't know until like you bring it up to us. So it allows us to basically get our eyes on your business, because we're like asking you, like there's over like 150 things to check, so that you know, oh, this is what an operations agency who steps in as fractional COOs for various businesses and organizations want me to have. Okay, I'm going to do it right from the get-go. Oh, my knowledge management or my project management should be able to do this or have these best practices, and I don't have that. Oh, shoot. Okay, this is an awareness change. And so being able to know and solve for the what you don't know part was a big part in demystifying operations. Like that's a really big word that we use, because demystifying operations is like our secondary mission. Like we want you to fall in love with your operations and make money from it. But then in order for that to happen, we also have to demystify, because if people are not excited for it, the change is not as impactful.
And listen, we don't expect everyone to be as excited as we personally are about operations. We recognize that y'all aren't going to get excited about putting folders
Process
in
maps.
order or process maps. Oh God, y'all, Veronica builds the sexiest process maps. Woo! And that's not
Thank
going to do
you.
it for everyone. That does it for me. It doesn't do it for
I mean,
everyone.
we don't have any, like, we don't have like a mantle jar or anything or keep track officially, but every time like a client moans and groans on a Zoom call when we show them something out of pleasure, like a kitten gets saved
You
somewhere.
should have a jar somewhere or something. Absolutely.
The moan and groan, the
Yes.
pleasurable moaning jar.
Yes. Tip yourself for that, baby.
So we want you to get excited, because when you are excited, it means you have buy-in. It means you care. That's the biggest thing, is that you actually care that operations can change the trajectory and the impactfulness and the sustainability of your business, all done with pleasure and ease.
Listen, not
Because
everyone
chafing sucks.
chafing sucks. Not everyone wants a 9-figure business. But whether you do or do not, you'll get where you want to go with better operations. That's it. That's what
That's
we
it.
want for you. Veronica, this has been so fun. Thank you for doing this series with me. Y'all, we will have the masterclass for this posted within the next couple of weeks. June is masterclass month here at the MNN, and we are going to be building it out. So, there'll be some additional resources. There'll be some fun little treats if you are a paid subscriber and get the masterclass version. We would love to see you over there. That's neurodiversitymedianetwork.com. And thank you. Thank you for doing this for my people, Veronica. I adore you.
Yeah, let's not make this the last time. We'll be back just with another season to be determined. So
Yes.
I'm going to share a little something that we can all look forward to. Unfortunately for you, it's in October. So, but Opstober happened for the first time ever last year, and we're coming back this year with the focus on revenue operations. And so, if you want to get more details on that as it drops pretty soon, I know it's already June, sign up for my email newsletter or sign up for the 50 plus SOP ideas. Get on the newsletter so that we can share that information with you right away when we are ready to.
And that's businesslaidbear.com, y'all. Thank you. We'll see you guys again next time, and we will be back here next week with more fun and educational programming. Have an amazing day, y'all. Bye.